morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be taking part today, and my thanks go to the SMMT for inviting me to speak. Now, typically, this is the time of year when the automotive industry will be gathered in Geneva for the annual motor show. Sadly, COVID has put pay to this for the second year in succession. But even looking back to the last show in 2019, it was pretty clear where the market was heading. The electric Jaguar I-Pace was announced as the European Car of the Year. Volvo launched its plug-in Polestar 2 to take on Tesla. Citroën unveiled its 28-mile-per-hour electric city car, whilst at the other end of the spectrum, the Battista supercar boasted more than twice the power of Lewis Hamilton's Formula One Mercedes. And yes, it too was electric. In fact, almost every stand at Geneva featured some sort of battery-powered car. As we phase out the internal combustion engine, and as the business model for building electric cars grows ever stronger, we're only going to see more of this creativity unleashed by the car industry. Indeed, research conducted for the Financial Times predicted that over the next decade, new gigafactories could cut the price of electric car batteries by almost one half. Of course, it's not just technology that's going green. So are the buyers, both the private motorists and the fleets. 2020 may have been a very odd year for the motor industry as a whole, but electric car sales rose by 180% in this country, all part of a very clear trend upwards. And the race to establish leadership in this groundbreaking sector is well underway. In fact, it's already a decade since Nissan's electric Leaf went on sale in the UK. It was after careful consideration of all of this, the pace of development and more, that in November we brought forward the date that sales of conventional petrol and diesel cars will end in this country to 2030, 10 years earlier than previously planned. Yes, it's ambitious for industry and for government. But if ever there was a time to be ambitious, it is now, as we build back from COVID and seek to get a head start in a market that's predicted to nearly triple globally between 2025 and 2030. The positive response to our announcement from the industry, and I must say I've been hugely encouraged by the proactive stance of car manufacturers, shows that we are on track to meet that 2030 deadline. And I mean we, because delivering zero carbon as a revolution and becoming a trailblazer for electric vehicle production and use isn't just down to the investment and hard work of the industry alone. We're in this race together. Now, it's our job in government to lead and manage and ease that transition through, to spark up the enterprise and the designers and engineers who'll help with the future, to support the construction of a comprehensive charging infrastructure network, to encourage growth through regulation, and to stimulate consumer demand as well. Even before I announced the phase out of date, we've made substantial progress. For example, we've committed £1.5 billion to support the early market and remove barriers to electric vehicle ownership. And with the help of significant private investment, we already have a network of over 20,000 public charging devices around the country, including nearly 3,900 rapid chargers, a figure that's rising by more than 100 every single month. In fact, with 36 rapid chargers per 100 miles of the UK strategic road network, today we already have far more than any other EU state. And initiatives like the new tie-up between Volkswagen Group and BP are only going to speed up the deployment of fast and rapid chargers. Having driven an electric car for the past couple of years myself, I know just how crucial that network is. But it has also given me a perspective on the challenges we face over the next 9 years as we head to 2030. We know it will be vital for government and industry to work hand in hand. So we will publish a delivery plan this year setting out how we'll meet the new phase out dates with milestones along the way. And we'll also publish a green paper on the post-EU regulation regime for CO2 emissions from new road vehicles. Of course, we'll engage closely with manufacturers and suppliers, and we'll make sure that funding is directed to the right places too, with a further £2.8 billion to speed up the transition and help the industry and customers make the switch. Up to £1 billion of that money will support the development of technology. £1.3 billion will be used to expand the charging infrastructure, and £582 million will help make electric vehicles more affordable through plug-in grants. And let's not forget the the incentives that are available for company cars, worth thousands of pounds a year. We'll continue to consider the long-term need for consumer incentives to boost uptake, taking into account the need to support an evolving market, but also to ensure that the taxpayer gets value for money. And that's why we've just announced that the plug-in grant will now be targeted at more affordable electric models, those under £35,000, which have increased in number, by the way, by nearly half since 2019, to allow more buyers to go green. The original grant has been a huge success and established a strong market. It started, by the way, at £7,000, giving soaring demand. Now, though, we're focusing that support where most consumers will benefit, while still maintaining the same high level of overall government commitment, and will continue to review the grant as we progress. We also need to consider the wider customer experience. Where there are barriers to early adoption, we need you to tell us. And that's why we're consulting on how to make electric vehicle driver experiences as hassle-free as possible. That means helping consumers easily locate charging points, supporting them to pay quickly and simply, and reassuring them about the reliability of that network. In short, how do we keep building customer confidence? I really welcome your input on all of this, and that of the franchise dealer network, who spend more time talking to customers than almost anyone else. The consultation closes on the 10th of April, with a response expected later this year. And we're accelerating plans to decarbonise other forms of road transport too. Earlier this month, we published a new bus strategy setting out plans to end the sale of new diesel buses in England. And alongside, we launched a consultation to decide when it will happen. After cars and vans, HGVs are the largest contributor to domestic transport CO2 emissions. So we're investing £20 million this year in planning zero-emission road freight trials, which will further support the UK industry to develop cost-effective zero-emission lorries and their refuelling infrastructure. We'll also consult on a date for phasing out the sale of diesel HGVs in the coming months. More details of all these plans will be published in our comprehensive transport decarbonisation plan, which will be released later in the spring. Whenever the zero carbon road transport subject is discussed, we hear a lot about leadership, and in particular relevant this year, I think, because we're preparing to host the UN Climate Summit in Glasgow next November. As host and president of COP26, the international community will be looking to us to see how we set that direction. Although the growth in sales of zero-emission vehicles globally is outpacing expectation, that rate of increase is simply not fast enough. To achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement, we would need to double the pace of transition globally. And that's why zero-emission vehicle campaign is one of 5 priorities we've chosen to focus on during the presidency, and why we've formed the new Zero Emission Vehicle Transition Council, which met for the first time in November. So, to sum this up, we have much work to do. We need to reach that tipping point where buying an electric car is the natural, not the novel thing to do. We need to be choosing electric and make it a no-brainer. We need to be making concerns about range anxiety a thing of the past. And I know with your support and advice, we will get there. COVID, if anything, has only intensified the urgency of the transition to net zero. But we have reasons to be confident. I think the strategies and objectives of government and industry are more aligned today than they've been at any time in the past. The development of our charging infrastructure is on track, and the attitudes to consumers are rapidly changing by consumers. So it's an exciting time. We're on the path that will not only transform motoring within a generation, but that will transform the whole planet. What an opportunity we have. Let's go out and seize it together by working together. And I thank you very much for your time today.